Hey there YouTube, Doc's Motorcycle Service. Rawr, 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 rawr. Welcome back to the garage. So in this video, epoxy floor covering, we are going to talk about the floor covering process and what that was like. I'm going to tell you right now, this video is a little long. Can't do nothing about it. If you came out of the vagina knowing everything there is to know about everything, good for you. Most people, like me, didn't come out of the vagina that way. We had to learn, either through others, books, videos, what have you. And my target audience is that audience that wants to do something on their own, but it's just a little apprehensive about delving into it until they've gathered as much information as they possibly can. And that's the guy I'm trying to help. If you're keeping up with the series, I mentioned in previous videos that we were going to try to do this right after the roll down door and before we got started on the electrical, because there was a lull there. Electrician said wait till we're done, because we're going to be pulling ladders all over the place. We're going to be pulling boxes all over the place. We're going to be pulling scaffolding all over the place. We're going to be in and out. It's going to be cold. It's going to be wet. It's going to be dry. It's going to be hot. Trust me when I tell you, if you just wait till we're done, you'll get a better result. And as I have through this entire process, I trusted him. All right, so without further delay, let's get into this. So if you can see this, we're going to paint up to the door, and what we did was we took the door up, we put painter's tape on it to cover it, because what we want to do down here on the ground, you can see where this track runs down to the door to about right here, and that's where the door lays all the way over to the other side. If we have enough of this left, what we're going to do is the apron and the walk-in concrete slab as well. But this way here, we pretty much edged it. We pretty much edged it with this tape, so now we can roll up against it on the floor and not worry about getting it messed up. And we're probably going to put some around the edges down here. If not, what we'll do is we'll just roll up to it and then come back with a paintbrush after it dries and tie it in right up to the rail. And so the other thing that we've done, we're going to eventually put plywood up against this, which will cover this down here on the floor. So I'm going to roll right up to it, and if I get some on it, I'm not really going to be worried about that. But what Linda and I have done yesterday was to prep the floor for what we're doing. We came out and we took a little pick and we got down in all the cracks. And we've had the heater running out here this morning. See, you're never going to get it perfect, so don't get bent out of shape over it. We've just got to get more leaves out of here. But I took, got everything off the floor and used a leaf blower to blow everything out. And then I used what's called a flat surface cleaner. And that's this little deal right here. And it attaches to your pressure washer, and this piece in here spins and it cleans the floor, and it really keeps the water down. There's absolutely no spray to this thing. And we cleaned the floor. You can see it looks good. I mean, if we wasn't going to put this coat in here, this epoxy covering, I'd have been real happy with it, just putting a clear on it, being done with it. But you know, this is Doc's Motorcycle Service. We don't do stuff half around here. So, tech tip, pro tip. You see these squares on the floor here? This is where the bar is going to go. This is going to be the back bar area, refrigerator, and the actual bar that you put your elbows on. And the tape is up, but apparently it got cold and hot, cold and hot, cold and hot, and it's kind of, it didn't leave a residue. It's not sticky at all. It's just slightly discolored. So, tech tip, pro tip. If you're using tape, and I would suggest you use painter's tape, blue painter's tape, because this is the first time I've ever seen it leave anything on anything. Put it down, eyeball where you want stuff at, take a picture of it, and then pull it back up. Linda, how long was this tape down? Oh, Linda got lost. How long did we have this tape on the floor?
2 months maybe.
2 months. So after 2 months, getting it back up was a bear. But again, it's not sticky. I don't think it's going to cause us any problems. And we're going to see how this works, but we are not going to etch this concrete. If I hadn't already talked about it, the concrete's brand new, has no chemicals on it. The only thing that's had on it is dirt. Typically, if you use one of these kits with the etcher is designed to go in. It's almost like an acid that's designed to go in and pre-treat the concrete and get anything off of it. Paint, grease, oil, kerosene, gas, anything that may have soaked into the concrete to prevent the concrete, or to prevent the epoxy floor covering from adhering to it. So we're going to take a chance, since it's brand new concrete, and we're not going to etch it. We're going to go ahead and get started on this. I'll take some pics as we go, and we'll see what happens. But the plan is to start. You can see the grooves in the floor here. We're going to try to do this area first, and then we're going to do this area, and then we're going to do this area, and this area, this area, this area, the back area, and then work out the door. All right, so we got our project table set up. We got our pan, we got our liners, and you know, Linda and I both are a big fan of these liners. They make cleanup so easy. I mean, you just get done with it and you go on. We got an extra stirring stick. We got a screwdriver to open the paint cans with. We got a little $2 brush to trim out around the garage door rails. We got our pretty good roller head here, and we've got some pretty roller heads. Now, a couple things here. I'm gonna bounce around a little bit, but if you don't know what these are, or if you don't know how to read them, this says it has a 3/8 nap. Okay, the nap is the distance from the inside plastic piece that slides over the outside of the roller head to the amount of material you have here to absorb paint. These are also for smooth surfaces, and it says all latex and oil base paints, suitable for all paint finishes. Now that's important, because the kit that we're going with, you just can't go buy this thing and come home and start putting it down. This is a 2.5 car garage kit. All right, well, we have another one outside because we're more than two car garages here, counting the apron and the walk-in that we're going to do. What you want to keep in mind is which one of these you want to go with. Now, I'm not recommending rust-oleum. All I'm going to tell you is that it's the most popular one out there. Based on my research, it had the best reviews, and I'm pretty certain this is the one we used, Linda, how long ago? 12 years at the old house? And Linda's nodding her head, and it lasted a long time. But it comes in the tan that we decided to go with, but it also comes in these different tints depending on what you want to go with. You'll see down here project details, coats needed, cleanup, size. This one says it's walk on ready in 24 hours, drive on ready in 3 days. Right here, other supplies needed, stiff bristle broom brush or scrub brush. This is if you're going to etch it. Roller frame, tray, and 3/8 nap cover. Now, the reason they specify the thickness of the nap is because if you get one that's too thick, you will absorb the product faster and spread it out quicker. So remember, this is designed to be used on a 2.5 car garage. I'm hoping we have enough. It says on here what the square footage is. This one says kit covers up to 450 to 500 square feet. I think we're covered. All right, so let's open this thing up and see what it looks like. So you got your instruction sheets. We don't need them. You have a stirring stick, and then you have all your flakes. And we're gonna go with the flakes because I like them. I think they're gonna look pretty good on this. You got a bunch of those, and then it looks like this is your etch. We're not going to use the etch. I'm going to leave it up to you and let you make your own decision. That's just something that you're going to have to consider for yourself. Looks like we got another one down here. Seems like we got 2 of everything. So we got 2 etchers because we got 2 parts. And this looks like this is part A, which is the activator. And this looks like, I can't pick this up one-handed. This looks like look at Linda jumping in there. Set it right here, Linda. Oh, muscles. This is part B. So what we're going to do is, if you're watching the channel, I'm going to assume that you're competent. And I'm not going to go into the instructions part of this. But we're going to read over these instructions and we're going to go ahead and get started. Show you a little tech tip. You do you, remember? But this is called a Redneck paint mixer right here. Take this old battery operated drill, what my daddy called a butterfly bit, taped it on here, put it in there and mixed it at a speed that allowed it to mix but not splash out of the container. So we're going to have a sacrificial pan right here to keep it dripping on. This is what this looks like in part B can. This is the actual epoxy. The smaller can has the activator, but you see how this looks. It looks like pea soup. So watch what happens with it, because I don't think they can shake this like they can shake regular paint because it's so heavy. So watch what happens when I start to stir it. See how the tan's coming in? Is that showing up? This is what happens. This is what happens when this stuff sits. It separates just like oil paint does or any other paint. That's why you got to shake it. So what you want to do, now you can do your stuff by hand, but I done showed you my Redneck paint stir. I'm just going to go around in here. Make sure you get around the edges, around the corners, pulling what's separated out. And you want to do this. Those are the streaks. You want to do this until all them streaks are gone. Alright, so you can see we're getting there. Might be a little hanger in there. Now this is how we're mixing the part A into the part B. And I'm just running this really slow. And you can see how thick this stuff is. See how it's separating immediately? This is the activator. This is what we've got to re-stir again. So I'm just going kind of slow with it. Maybe even lift the stirring stick up to where it's almost touching but not quite splattering that's coming out. Now listen, tech tip. You want to get the same amount out of this can every time. If you stopped right here, guess what? That's where you need to stop with the other can. But what we're doing is we're trying to get as much out of it as we can. And we've got an idea of what that looks like. So we're going to keep stirring this here and mixing it up. You can see how it's in there. You just got to mix it up, top to bottom. All right. Think we about got it. Looks pretty good. All right, we got our first one mixed. Always read your instructions. After the standing time indicated on the charts, the chart says if temp is 60 to 70, start brushing at 30 minutes, start rolling at 45. That means after you mix it, your part A with your part B, you have to let it sit 30 minutes before you start trimming the edges. So 30 minutes after it sets, you start trimming your edges, and then 45 minutes after it sets, you start using it, and then you have 2 hours to use it in after that 45 minutes. I think what we're going to do is we've got the other half of the kit set right here. So at 45 minutes, I'm going to start rolling this. But before I do, I'm going to re-stir it. And the moment I'm done stirring that, I'm going to go over here and mix these together and stir them, and letting the 45-minute wait time start ticking off while we're applying this gallon. Does that make sense? What I don't want to do is do a gallon and then mix another gallon and have to wait 45 minutes, and then mix another gallon and have to wait 45 minutes, and mix another gallon and have to wait 45 minutes. That's the first application we did right over to this beam here. It looks pretty good. So Linda is doing her thing. She's just kind of sprinkling it from her hand up close, trying not to get any on the wall, trying to make the best use of this stuff. And wow, looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. She's tinkling the edges of it. All right, YouTube, stick around. We're rolling. All right, little pro tip here. You can see how Linda's not going all the way to the edge right here with the sprinkles. And the reason we're doing that is because that keeps from picking it up with the roller. Now, if you pick it up with the roller, it's really not going to hurt anything, but it'll be much better off. And then what she does is, after I roll in a section like here, she rolls in and sprinkles both of the new edges together. Just a little thought. All right, we got maybe an inch left in the bucket.
Okay.
And we have done all this over here and working it in. We did this over to about right here, and then you can see the difference in it right there. We cut in that corner and started working this way. And as you can see, Linda is busy playing with the fairy dust, tinkling and putting it in there. And I'll tell you what, man. I mean, you can see the difference in it because of the way it's drying. And this is right in here. I mean, we just put this on in the last 10-15 minutes. So this was about 45 minutes. And like I said before, we pre-mixed the other can and then put the final stirring on this can before we brought it over here and poured it. And the 45-minute stand time just went off. So we're going to finish out what's in this bucket, put it in that pan, and we're going to start right here on what we affectionately call Bay 3 and work this way again. Stick around, YouTube. All right, so that's what we got out of a can. That's about 10 foot wide and 24 foot long, and maybe another 5 foot wide and 4 foot long section. We've got our next can ready to pour, and we have pre-mixed can 3 for its 45-minute setup time while we put this out, because that worked out about right. We were right about over there near the wood on the wall when the 45-minute timer went off. So I'm hoping the next 45 minutes we'll get this whole section finished, and maybe a little bit of this one. So let's go, YouTube. Say, let's go, YouTube, Linda.
Let's go to YouTube, Linda.
Oh, Lord Jesus. All right, little beer break. And we're getting there. But running out of food. Kind of looking at it, it's drying in a little differently here. I think, you know what? YouTube, now that I realize this, I was thinking it was going to be this color right here, which is a light tan, but as it's drying in, see, I was worried I mixed it wrong, YouTube. But I tell you what I think's happening here is it's going to be a little bit darker like this right here when it dries in, but it's got a decent sheen on it. I mean, even back here where it seems to be drying in, but it's like 60 degrees here today, so there's a lot of variables here. It's windy, it's warm, but it's still cool. But you can see that one area back there that we did first, almost a square, but this whole thing came out of the same mixture. So I guess maybe it's just drying in differently. Anyway, we're taking a beer break and we're going to get back at it. Tech tip, don't go too heavy on the sprinkles in the beginning, because we have our third can ready to go, but we've used the first 2 bags of sprinkly dinklies from the kit, and we're already halfway into the 3rd bag, and we got 1 bag left to go. So we made an executive decision, and it's probably a blessing in disguise. We are not going to put sprinkles over here in the bar area, because the plan is to put down some fake hardwood flooring. And I believe that fake hardwood flooring has a vapor barrier that goes under it. And Linda and I were thinking about that well, we had talked about not putting sprinkles down there anyway, simply because it might interfere with that flooring fitting right. Because you've got to figure that every one of these little specks is a bump that wood is going to have to fit on. So probably not going to do this and this with the sprinkles. All right, so we're going to have some toast cheese crackers and a cold tasty beverage, and we'll be back at it. Stick around, YouTube. All right, well, there you go. I can't really tell exactly what it's doing, but this is the clear. You can see how it's drying on me, or not the clear, but this is where we're working our way out the door. So here's my spot. Now, here's a tech tip. This is my little spot right here. I'm going to paint up to right here, all of this to right here, and then I'm going to pass the last remaining materials out the door to Linda, and then I'm going to stand right outside the door there and paint that spot with the roller. So that's where we're at. YouTube, it's about, what time is it? Linda, any idea what time it is? 4:42. We started at 1:30, 2:30, 3:30, 4:30. So about 3.5 hours working together. Might take you a little longer working by yourself. So we're going to work our way out the door, and then we're going to let this sit up 24 hours. And tomorrow's Monday, and we're going to come back Monday evening, and I'll shoot the video, and you can be right there with us as we're either overjoyed, satisfied, or disappointed. Stick around, YouTube. All right, so it's been about 14, 15 hours. We finished up yesterday afternoon about 3:30. It's now 7 o'clock Monday morning. Let's take a look. All right, well, it's shiny. I don't think the camera's doing it any good. Let's see if we can turn the light on. Woo, that's bright. Wow. Wow. I really don't think the camera is doing this justice, YouTube. Trying to put some lights on, but it's tan. And oh my goodness. This looks almost good enough to eat. I'm walking through each section here, and man, it dried in good. Now, okay, yeah, see, I'm noticing that if you look right here, you see what might be like a dark spot, but what that actually is if you watch it, it moves. It's the supports reflecting in the bottom. Okay, so yeah, I mean, it looks good. I can see some little, on my end personally, I can see some little imperfections where I sort of like, there's a little one right there if you look at it, where I rolled into it too much, overlapped it too much, or maybe not enough. But man, it did its thing, and it blended right in. I mean, gosh, there's a little spot right here now. Yep, you can see it right here. I mean, you know me, I ain't gonna lie to you. I ain't gonna try to cover anything up. There's a little dark spot right here, a little trim in spot. And you know, let me think about that for a minute. Let me think and see if I can help figure out what might have caused this. So we started over here with this half and then did this half about 3 foot, 4 foot this way. Then we came and did another section here and another section here, and then a section here and a section here, and then a section here and a section here, and then here and here, which left this right here, dead in front of me. Then we moved over and we did that, and we did that, and we did this, and we started working this way. I wonder if this dried more quickly right here than while we were doing this over here. I wonder if we'd have been better off to take it all this way to like right here and then start working out. Okay, we'll never know, but you know what? At the end of the day, I'm happy with it. I think it looks great. And you probably saw in the video that, or either heard in my voice, that I was a little concerned about this back corner. This back corner is different than any other place in the building. It gets the most sun regardless of what time of year it is. And I think as we went through that video, and it was kind of windy that day, it was kind of cold that day, but the sun was out. There was a lot of parameters. That's why I tell you, read your instructions. Tech tip, read your instructions. You do not want to just buy this stuff, pull it off the shelf, take it home and start using it. All right, look at it's got a temperature guide on it. Remember the nap. You know, the nap there, if you get too big a nap, you're going to pull too much product and you're going to get it really thick and not cover as much as you want. You get too thin of a nap, you're going to get less product. You're going to cover more area, but the covering is not going to be as thick. Therefore, it's not going to be as durable. So, read your instructions. But I think this back end dried in quicker than it did anywhere else. I don't know why, but I'll also tell you this. Just like the instructions said, walk on ready in 12 or 24 hours, drive on ready in 3 days. I waited 5 days just because of the temperature changes that was going on in that time of year. And I'm glad I did, because when I came back out here after 5 days, it was perfect. No dark spots anywhere. And don't hold me to this, but I think it was latex and paint, which basically is what this is, dries one of two ways. It either dries from the outside, which is the side that you can see, into what it's sprayed or rolled or brushed onto, or it dries from the inside out, starting with what it's adhered to and then working its way out. So anyway, a couple little tech tips. Is a school of thought that says that if you go at this with a 2-car garage and that's all you got, and you get the 2.5 gallon kit, that you should go get a 5-gallon bucket or a 4-gallon bucket and mix everything together at one time. And if you do that, you're going to get a better consistent hue, color, than mixing it a gallon at a time, and then another gallon at a time, and then another gallon at a time, and another gallon at a time. We chose not to go that route because of what we read about the shelf life. Remember, it took us almost 4.5 hours to do this. Had we mixed all of it together at one time, by the time we got halfway, 2/3 of the way into the garage, it would have been going past its shelf life. And that's not to say that it wouldn't have gone down and that it had stayed down, but it may have affected its durability. Does that make sense? So if you're doing your 2-car garage, I would strongly urge you to get an old 5-gallon bucket. Put your A in, put your B in, put your A on it, stir it up, or put your B in, stir it in the can, put your B in, put your A in, stir it, come back with your second can of B, and your second can of A, stir that and get it all mixed well together, and then have at it. Because doing a 2-car garage, you'll probably get that done in maybe an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes if you stay at it. And just like we talked to you about starting over here in this corner and here and there and there and there, and then working out the door, make your plan, plan that so you don't mess up. The other thing that I will tell you is that when you saw me walking on it, when you heard me come out the next morning and walking on it, and you were hearing those little sounds every time I would take a step, well, I'm sure some of you like, Doc, Doc, you ain't lying to nobody. That stuff wasn't dry. That stuff was sticking to your feet, and that's why you didn't show anybody where you walked at, because you got feet marks all over it. No. When you're tossing out sprinkles, you have no control over how they fall. Some will fall straight in. Some will fall flat. Some will come in at an angle. Some will come in like this, and they will dry that way. What you were hearing, the cracking that you were hearing as I was walking, was those that had come in at funky angles, okay, breaking off as I was stepping on them. Makes sense? Because they're not going to lay down. They're going to stick. I'm going to tell you something. This stuff is sticky on the floor. And the last tip I'm going to give you is this. This stuff's pretty common. You can find it at almost any hardware store. And anybody worth their snuff is going to sell extra packets of sprinkles. I would urge you to buy, I don't know, if you're doing a 2-car garage, I would urge you to go ahead and buy 1 extra bag. If you're doing anything bigger, I'd get at least 1 bag for every bay that you're doing. What we found out is there's no good way to put this stuff on. The instructions say to sew it, cast it, like you cast out grass seed. Linda and I didn't feel comfortable with that, so that's why she went with the sprinkles, and it gave her more control over where she wanted them because they would fall straight. Had we chosen not to put the sprinkles in the bar area, we would have ran out. So buy more sprinkles than you need, because you can always take them back and get your money back if you don't use them. You don't want to be out here on a Friday night or a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon doing this. Have all your chemicals mixed, shelf life timer ticking down, and realize that you need more sprinkles and have to drive 20 minutes somewhere to some store, spend 10 or 15 minutes buying them, and then 20 minutes getting back here while that timer on your shelf life is spinning round and round and round. Just some thoughts. Alright, so where do we go from here? There will be one more video, I'm sorry. The workbench and wall covering video. That's where we put the workbench in over here, some challenges we had to overcome with getting that workbench mounted to the wall, and the wall coverings up here, and some challenges that we had to overcome with that. So look for at least one more video in the new construction series. Alright YouTube, as always, I appreciate you coming by the shop. Rate, comment, share. Ride safe, handle your business, and save some money. And cut!